this computer. Okay, we're all good to go.
Okay, so we did a podcast for our project called Correcting Curriculums, the podcast, AP US History Edition.
So our project is a podcast episode critiquing the College Board's AP US History curriculum for promoting partiality against minoritized people and radical movements, as it provides room for teachers to impose their own unjust biases in drawing up their curriculums. So the three of us study history in secondary ed here at UIUC. We've obviously taken a lot of history classes in college, and we draw from our connections from our history experiences in high school and college and the differences in the things that we learn. We talk about important terms from this class, Education 202, and we provided further research to emphasize the exigent need of a social justice abolitionist history education, especially with the APUSH curriculum.
Okay, so our project was a podcast organized into 3 sections. We included a section to educate listeners about important words and topics that are essential to understand in order for the rest of the podcast to effectively communicate our message. Our second section outlined the previous changes that the College Board had made to the curriculum to please critics who thought that the curriculum had made the U.S. look like a perpetrator of injustice. And the last section we used as an example of communism, or we used the example of communism to portray the partiality in the APUSH curriculum that was created to please critics. We highlighted how important it is to include topics like these and portray them accurately in order for APUSH to effectively educate students.
And since we're all 3 aspiring history teachers, we're bound by curriculums like these, and this educational policy is something that is very important to us, and it can be out of our reach to change. So we're calling on students in courses, current and past, as well as teachers and ordinary people, to fight capitalistic organizations such as the College Board to portray accurate and complete descriptions of historical events in these curriculums.
Okay, so right now we're gonna play a portion of our podcast for you. So just sit back and listen to a little bit of what we have to share.
All right. So the snippet that we're about to play is from the section of our podcast where we talk about how communism is covered in the APUSH curriculum and the different ways that it can be improved. All right, so here we go.
Now, as an example, we're going to focus in on the way that Americans are taught to perceive communism. Most students are told that it is evil and the opposite of our democratic, capitalist American ideals. Even more so, we are taught to fear China and the Soviet Union, among other nations that have or have had communist governments. Now, when I was a kid, I clearly remember joking about Russia, but also being afraid of it. And those literally stemmed from the Cold War. And I had absolutely no reason to believe this and to believe these like racist ideas about people. But I totally did, because why wouldn't you believe something that older people are telling you? So this type of thing shows how racism is taught very young, and many people don't even realize that it's racist a lot of the time. So everyone should try to think back and recall if you were ever even taught the meaning of communism or if you were just taught to hate it.
Looking at the 2020 APUSH framework, the College Board examines communism through the lens of competition with American capitalism, focusing on containing communism abroad and domestically.
From my APUSH experience, I do remember learning about the political conflicts surrounding capitalism and communism. And I'm sure we all learned about the Red Scares. McCarthyism is pretty infamous, as well as the Cold War, and then resulting Reaganomics as a point to prove the power of American capitalism. But for example, we did not learn about the United States Communist Party's, the CPUSA in short, aspirations of educating Black Americans on their rights and history, fighting against housing segregation and poor living conditions, as well as forging racial unity on the grounds of working class labor unity. For example, During the 1930s, the Chicago Communist Party established unemployed councils that fought against evictions from high-rent, crumbling apartments, and they turned on utilities where people could not afford them. In neighborhoods with high unemployment, the councils could mobilize as many as 5,000 unemployed workers in half an hour to prevent an eviction, where they moved evicted families' furniture from the streets back into apartments. And obviously, this is very different as it involves the participation of Black Americans, which was not really allowed by the American system at the time. So I did not learn about this aspect of American communism until my urban history class in college.
The reality is that not every American goes to college, and a vast majority of those who attend do not major in history to learn this revealing detail about the CPUSA. The issue is that the College Board framework does not discuss the American Communist movement and largely fails to address other radical, right-seeking coalitions like the Black Power movement. However, if the vast majority of Americans fail to comprehend these topics beyond what they are told in school, why does the APUSH curriculum not attempt to accurately define them?
At the highest level of American history taught in high schools, the College Board has great opportunity to correct partialities that many American history curriculums contain, including those of the communist movement and the CPUSA in America. In a course I'm currently enrolled in, Illinois history, we discuss communism in a different light. In the course, we discuss the relevance of the communist movement in Chicago in the 1900s and focused a bit on the role it played in helping minoritized communities in a fight for civil rights. The relevance that I learned this movement had is incredible, and it seems like it would have been a shoo-in for the AP curriculum. However, when I took the AP course, I slowly learned about the effect of communist hysteria had on the nation. It is partialities like this in the AP curriculum that leave high school students ignorant to so many issues, and I think that the College Board could do more to incorporate topics as important as this one.
So I think that leaves us at a good point to wrap up our chat today. And as a group of 3 aspiring high school history teachers, the partialities we discuss are something we hope to correct in our own curriculums in the future. But us 3 teachers can only do so much.
We're going to leave you with the hope that you carry on this message, continue working to educate yourself further on topics like this one, and join us in a fight to pressure capitalistic organizations like the College Board to resist the pressure from critics to keep the curriculum partial, and instead pressure them to incorporate complete and accurate histories of events.
Thank you guys so much for listening in on our discussion today. We hope that it was interesting as well as motivating. We need support to bring these issues to light, and inequalities from our past are still disastrous for minoritized people today. Furthermore, our education system is doing nothing to change this cycle. Once again, it is up to us to educate ourselves on these topics and to educate the people around us so that we can make a change.
Okay, cool. So that was 6 minutes of our podcast. On the presentation, we'll include a link to the entire thing.
And then here are a few of our sources just to see where we're coming from with this. So thank you all for watching our presentation. We really hope you enjoyed what we shared.